Hello, YouTube fans. This is TheSkullKlown. I'm here to talk about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I just saw the whole series already, and literally, it's really freaking good. To be quite honest with you, and let's talk about my experience with the Scott Pilgrim series. I read the books. Obviously, I was a big fan. Was it since the movie was coming out? And when the movie was coming out, I wanted to see the movie because I liked the trailer and everything like that. And I was young at the time. It came out 2010, and then eventually got the books, read them all, freaking loved the books, and eventually did watch the movie when I was reading the books, and I fucking loved the movie. And I love the video game. The video game is amazing too. It's a fun homage. It's a fun homage game it's a fun game paying homage to the classic beat 'em up games, like the Ninja Turtle ones, beat 'em up games, and what is it also called? River City Ransom or Rampage, one of them too. Um, so what's the story? And there will be spoilers in this video. So if you haven't watched it, start watching this video and go watch the show. So you should watch it. All right, it's doing good. So all right. I want to say this right now. The they it was what I love about the show is that they literally was like, "Oh, you want Scott Pilgrim, basically, right? Well, you know what? You thought some of the stuff that you thought was going to happen was going to happen. Nope, it did not. We're changing some shit right now, baby." And I'm all like, "Holy shit!" Which is great because maybe some people might be pissed off that, "Oh my god, why you changed it from the comic book or something like that, or from the movie or some shit." But I'm all like, "But guys." Even when I saw the trailer to this show, I was literally telling myself, okay, we need to get something new here because we already have the comic book and we already have the movie basically and we have the video game too. So this show, the Scott Pilgrim Takes Off show, is basically putting it all together in a way. And there's some episodes that I don't want to spoil it too much that they literally hint about the movie, and it's great. I fucking love it. So the story about is that Scott Pilgrim needs to fight Ramona's seven evil exes. So he fights the very first evil ex, and guess what? He dies. Scott dies. I mean, I know he dies in the book and the movie, and then they don't do that in the video game. Well, if you die a lot in the video game, so that gets kind of counts, right? But because you do lose a lot if you're not strong enough in the video game. But yo, though, this shit was really great. That the way that they did this of like, once the first, I thought literally I was watching the first episode and I'm all like, okay, Matthew Patel is going to come, Sky and him are going to fight, and then all of a sudden he dies and I'm all like, I'm all like, am I missing something here? And then all of a sudden it's this huge mystery of like, all of a sudden you see a funeral of Scott's death and everything like that. And it's so cool, to be quite honest with you, mainly because the reason I like this so much is because they did it differently, and I'm glad they did it differently. Because obviously, like I said before, how are they gonna? Because we were like, okay, either they can repeat the same thing or do something new, and they decide to do something new while still paying homage to the other properties that came out before this, basically. So when that happens, Ramona goes on a journey trying to find Scott because she realizes Scott is not dead. Basically, you really do feel like the whole show is going on to literally just about. You think the whole? I mean, at this point, you'd be like, "Oh my god, the whole show is not about Scott. It's literally about getting Scott." And then most people would be like, "Oh, but it's about Ramona and everything like that." I'm like, "But it's also about Scott's friends too. It's about everybody in this show. Ramona's just trying to get Scott. You know, if someone says that this is woke, we're gonna be like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" A woman trying to save a man is called woke. Like we've seen movies like this before. You're gonna say the first Alien movie is woke, because the alien died, because the robot man died from the alien, and then it's like, well, you know. These people can never be satisfied. But the soundtrack is great. The voice acting is great, in my opinion. I'll say this: in the first two or the first episode, it does feel like the actors are not what is it? At first, it feels like they were just reading a script, basically. But then, as the episodes went on, they were like they were more comfortable of what they were doing. So you could tell some of these um you could tell some of these actors are not used to doing voiceover, so that's why they're kind of stumped with it, I guess, you know. But I mean, some of them that have done it have done fine, and that's why when they stumped it here, sometimes I'm just like, you guys have done voice acting before. I don't know why you stumping here. But only happens in 1 and 2 episodes, and then after that, it becomes fine, you know. And I'm so glad that we get like a fucking closure from Ramona's evil exes. And the evil exes have become literally icons of this show. Literally, they fleshed them out in a way that they did totally different things that I was freaking not expecting at all. For kind of you get a battle of Matthew Battelle versus Gideon Graves, and you found out Gideon Graves is not really his real name. Oh my god, man. There's some funny shit in this show, though. There is some funny fucking shit, guys. There really is. Like, and the thing is, too, if anyone is talking shit about the show, I would not understand why. I would not understand why. It's doing its own thing, and it's still doing what it needs to do. Scott needs to fight the exes, or needs to fight somebody to be with Ramona, you know? It was cool debating how was this happening to Scott and stuff like that. And eventually it does come back to Scott, which a lot of people probably will look at this show and be like, why are they always focusing on Ramona and shit like that? But this whole point is, this whole story is about Scott, you dumb motherfuckers. Stop pointing fingers when you know the whole story is surrounded to Scott Pilgrim. Does that make sense? Jeez, man. I'm just talking to the haters here, for the idiots that are literally saying, why is Ramona the main character? Of course she's the main character. Apparently you didn't watch the movie or read the book. You're not a fan. You're just a fake fan that looks at the trailer and want to be a part of this stuff, but then you watch it, you be like, oh, this is bad. I'm like, no, it's not bad. The internet is crazy in love with Scott Pilgrim. And that's why you guys, the YouTubers that are talking shit about this show, look stupid. You look stupid. There's no reason now more than ever before that these people, that certain people should see the true colors of these higher YouTubers that don't like this show. But they will praise Velma. They will praise Velma and praise showing a fucking high school kids, even though it's animated, they're still high school kids being naked. And you're showing that in the show. And I'm over here like, I know it's animated, but what the fuck, guys? That's like seeing one episode of the Powerpuff Girls and you see them and you know, some stupid shit like that. I'm just like, what are you doing here? I didn't even watch Velma. I just watched like the some people that talked about the show because I was gonna watch it, but I want to see some people's views on it. And the one view that I was hearing is Dr. Wolfilas, and he's a huge fan of Scooby Doo. So I was watching that video about him talking about Velma, and I'm like, oh my god. You praise that show, guys, but you won't praise this show? You guys are fucking sick. You guys are fucking disgusting. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is a good show. It is a fun show. The soundtrack is great. The acting, the voice acting, in my opinion, you might be like, a little bit at first, but then eventually becomes its own, and it's good. You know, the actors get comfortable with them voice acting what they're doing, in my opinion. You know? So I had fun with this show. I can't wait if they ever do another one, you know, if they do. And what is it? So eventually they do get Scott, and then, well, eventually Scott does come back. And then you'd be like, okay, so who's doing all of this stuff? Ramona's trying to find out who kidnapped Scott, who tried to fake his death and everything like that. And it turns out, drum roll please, it turns out Scott did that. The future Scott Pilgrim. And I'm like, we're doing time travel here? you know? And then it's really fucking cool at the same time because Scott, we get an episode of Scott showing what happened to him when he was, over there, obviously. I do wish these episodes were longer. I just feel like I just feel like they want to tell more story with these episodes, but they can't because they only have 20 something minutes. I feel like these episodes should be like at least almost 40 or 35 minutes. At least 35 minutes. Because I feel like they want to tell more of a story than what they're telling right now. Basically. It feels like they want more time, basically. To not add stuff, but put stuff to be more fleshed out, basically. And that's what happens sometimes. When sometimes shows like Loki only get like 6 episodes, well, good luck making a fucking thick ass story, man. You gotta like lever that shit out. You gotta take some stuff out that you wish you can put, And the best thing is about this show too, I am so fucking happy that everyone, the creator and everybody is involved with this show and everything like that, and I'm happy about this too. Basically, when you really think about it, Brian Lee O'Malley is basically putting some of his things that he probably never got a chance to put in the book or in the movie. These are probably ideas he's been saving up for years and years and years, and then he just puts it in his TV show for Scott Pilgrim. It would make sense. A lot of creative people do that. Why wouldn't you? I have a whole bunch of shit with that, with my drawings or all that stuff, with my video game stuff. I have tons of papers and fucking books just stacked of that shit. So I can see Brian Lee O'Malley having that basically. So, and I don't get the whole you people talking about this woke shit. It makes no sense. It doesn't make no sense at all. I don't know what you guys wanted. Did you wanted the same thing or you wanted something new? Because going back, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself again. I don't want to, but it has to be said that if you got the book, you know what happens, basically, And if you watch the movie, you know what happens. So if you were going to watch the TV show and they do the same shit, then you know what happens. So they decided to bend the rules a little bit, but also get you surprised and make you feel like, okay, this is actually new and I can actually get engaged into this shit again, instead of just being like, oh, this is just an animated series of just the comic book or the live action movie. There's references to the live action movie and the comic book, which is pure genius. I love that this show is its own universe of its own of Scott Pilgrim. The same thing as the movie and the same thing as the game and the comic book. I love that shit. And I've been knowing that shit ever since for a long time. Ever since the movie, the comic book, and the video game came out a long time ago, I literally in my mind had always told myself these are different universes of Scott Pilgrim. And then this is also another one. There's so much you could do with this universe now, just because you could do so much with it. That's just me, man. Anybody can be your villain when you really think about it in the show. To be quite honest with you, for crying out loud. Going more into what happens in the show, Scott becomes a bad guy, not the Scott that we know, the other Scott, the future Scott Pilgrim, that kidnapped himself to make sure he doesn't go with Ramona. Damn. And it's like Wallace. Yo, Wallace in this show. Wallace in the show is fucking gold. He is hilarious. All right, people are a fan of Wallace from the comic books and also in the freaking movie, and they translate him so fucking well in the freaking book live action, in the whole animated series. It's so fucking good. It's so good. The animation series did justice with him, man. They really did, in my opinion. They made him more funnier. They made him into, like, I don't know. I feel like some people are going to look at this and be like, oh, these are not the characters that I grew up with or some shit like that. I'm like, guys, this is a different universe of them. This is a different dimension of them, Because the same way did not play out. That's the reason why Scott Pilgrim faked his own death, a.k.a. kidnapped him. Because I can't wait. I was expecting an episode to show him being, like, in a lair showing those different timelines of Scott Pilgrims, but each time he keeps winning and winning, getting Ramona, getting Ramona, getting Ramona. It is hinted. It is hinted when Scott meets his future self. It is hinted, so you really don't have to see it. They say it, they talk about it, and it's passed on. That's fine. That's fine. But it does make you think that holy shit, future Scott actually knows he's always going to be with Ramona, anyways. And then this is the version of Scott of him not being with Ramona, basically, because they had a divorce. You know, it's so cool, to be honest. Scott in this show, this show is literally showing you how powerful Scott Pilgrim is. He is. You know how in the comic book, if you got the comic book, if you're a true hardcore fan, you know, this is what you were. This is what happened. This is Ramona. You think he's all right over there, Kim? Of course he's okay. He's Scott Pilgrim. Once you hear that in the book, that is basically Scott Pilgrim. That's his character. He's the anime character. He's the Superman. He's basically Goku. He's that one character that if shit goes down and people are asking for him, they're like, oh my god, well, you know how in anime there's always that one overpowered character that they always keep in the background, but he's the main character and he's the main badass and shit like that, but they keep it in the background for a lot of stuff. They do that with Goku a lot. And then when you're like, okay, when Goku comes in, shit gets real and shit's about to hit the fan and get cleaned up. That's the type of anime characters I like, to be quite honest with you. I've always resonated with those type of anime characters. That's why when they talk about Luffy being overpowered, I'm just like, fuck you. If Luffy's overpowered, so is Goku. Seriously. So is Popeye. So is Tom and Jerry. So is fucking Naruto. So is Superman and Batman. These are things that you guys cannot do. It's just funny. To me, I'm not saying having the argument of someone being overpowered is not valid, but when you go to the full lengths of it, that it ruins your experience, I'm gonna look at it like, come on, man, come on. It's just a powerlifting scale, to be quite honest with you, that really creators that make this stuff really don't care. Only us care about it, and they look at it like, you know, that's just me, man. But it's the references to the movie and the comic book are so well made in this, and then the parody that they did for the movie in one of the episodes, I started laughing at shit, but also I was asking myself, is this going to be the whole show, just the parody of making the movie, basically? Technically they were doing that, but they didn't show it. They only have the characters showing their expression of what they were watching. The Scott Pilgrim musical, basically. That wasn't their plan. Their plan was to make a Scott Pilgrim movie, which was Ramona's plan, the future Ramona's plan to do, and that did not happen, obviously, because in that dimension that this show takes place in, shit just went differently, obviously. So I'm glad they introduced stuff like this, to be quite honest with you. I know some people are probably not going to like it, but I like it. You know why? Because it expands more of the universe of Scott Pilgrim, and it also tells you that there's other dimensions of everything, basically. It's almost like the same thing when you look at movies of remakes and reboots, basically. It's just a different dimension or version of that character. If you don't like the version of the new Halloween movies, guess what? We have Earth 1. Halloween Earth 1. We have the original Halloween Earth 1. And then the remake of Halloween Rob Zombie Earth 2. You see? So that's how I like to think about it with these stuff. I've always thought about this stuff like that. It doesn't matter what it is. I've always think stuff about that with movies, with video games and all that. You know, especially for a game in a video game that's a remake of something, does it quite well, and it's not. And it doesn't suck. You know, it knows what it is. It has fun and it respects its source material, which is really what people really care about, anyways. And since I'm a big Scott Pilgrim fan, does this respect the source material? Hell to the fuck yes. All right. I am glad that Ramona gets more of a shine light because, to be quite honest with you, in the movie, Scott got more of a shine light too. Shine light, but in the comic book, everyone, Ramona, technically Gideon, and Scott, basically all the important characters got fleshed out in the comic books. Did basically, you know, but it was mostly about Scott and Ramona, you know. Um, and the one thing too that probably most people might appreciate is that Scott and Ramona are not dicks. I know a lot of people always have that argument, but I know they're supposed to be like that, and I know that, you know. But I know a lot of people don't like Scott or Ramona just because they're dicks, you know. So they feel like they're unlikable, basically. So when they watch this show, most likely, and they don't act that way, they still have that demeanor sometimes, but things have changed so much in this universe for them that they don't really act that way as much anymore. Things a lot have happened to them, you know, and that's cool because that shows character growth, obviously. And now in the future, when people look at this show, they're going to be like, okay, there was something that this show did that the other two versions of Scott Pilgrim didn't really do. Not to say those are bad, but when you look at it in a microscope perspective, you'd be like, people are gonna not probably follow this franchise mainly because these two main characters, you know, because people really do feel strongly about how Ramona and Scott are. To be quite honest with you, you'd be surprised how many people feel about Scott and Ramona in this movie, and some of them aren't even big fans of it. You know, it's just that the people that are fans of Scott Pilgrim um series understand it. I understand why Sky is this way, and I understand why Ramon's like this. But I know a lot of people out here will just be like, "Oh yeah, I know they explain it in the book and movie and shit like that, but I just don't give a fuck. They're just so terrible." I'm over here like, you still have Bill Murray doing the same shit, and you're like him. And Bill Murray's probably the worst motherfucker of all the celebrities, I guess. You know how many movies he could have gotten and he said no to? He could have done Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he didn't even say no. He just didn't pick up the phone. That's his fault. Oh man. That's just because you know Bill Murray's a dick in real life. Come on, all this. What do you think we love him? You know, he brings that shit to his movies, and that's why we love him in Ghostbusters and freaking what is it? Zombieland. You know, so those are great, man. So that's just me. His demeanor was great. I'm also going to review the new Ghostbusters movie, Afterlife. I've just watched it recently too, so we'll talk about that soon. And Killer Clowns for Outer Space, obviously. Um, but let's continue on with this series real quick. I want to talk more about the Evil X's before I leave. The Evil X's, I'm actually glad what they did with the Evil X's. They not also expand upon them or focus on them more. To be quite honest with you, they gave room for character development for them. To be quite honest with you, and I like that because I always wanted to know what makes them click, what makes them motivate to the point of wanting them to do this type of stuff. Basically, you know, because if you look at the original comic books, you will know that the reason these evil actors are doing it is because Gideon's literally controlling them. Either they're there in real life or they're not. They're basically either digitally there, and then when Scott beats them, they just die. But that's just the word of Scott Pilgrim. Basically, when you die, you have change following you. That's just the word of Scott Pilgrim, which is awesome. You know, fucking awesome. You know, that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with the word of Scott Pilgrim. It resonated with me like a motherfucker, man. It resonated with me like a motherfucker. Okay? Why? Because I want to live in that type of world. I'm dead serious. That type of world of Scott Pilgrim, that is my bread and butter, baby. Seriously. Seriously, man. That is just my shit, man. It really is my shit. So that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with the whole series to begin with. You know, it had everything that I resonated and so much more. You know, And I'm so glad. Was it Amaguchi? I hope I'm saying the name right. The people that did the soundtrack for the video game, they come back here to do the soundtrack for this, and there's some other soundtracks too, from this show. The soundtrack for Scott Pilgrim, man, from the movie to the video game into this. Oh my god! Like put all that soundtrack, put all those soundtracks into one disc. You know, or in a disc collection, right next with the movie and right next to the freaking video game. You know, and this series too, and then bundle it with the freaking comic books and shit like that. Remember when I talked about that whole bundle of Scott Pilgrims? Oh God, they have to do it one day. One day they need to do that bundle with all the Scott Pilgrim books and the movie, and then the show, and then the video game. Oh my God, guys, that is like, oh, an anniversary of it will be so beautiful. Oh my God, guys, hell yeah, seriously. Most people are like, oh, I don't know about the video game because it wouldn't be hard to get that. Oh, you could put it in modern consoles and shit like that. You know, it just depends if you want it physically or digitally. You know, but that's what I would have done maybe later on in the future. But we'll see, we'll see. But I'm enjoying the fuck out of this show, man. Again, I'm done with it, and I wish there was more. To be quite honest with you, because I enjoyed the fuck out of this show. What is it? Roxanne. Roxy, she's one, like, all of these evil exes that get expanded more in this show, I fell in love with them even more. I already liked them before. I liked them in the comic books, I liked them in the movie, you know? They were really fun, characters, you know? You couldn't hate them. I couldn't. The only person you could have hated was Gideon, basically. But now when we watch this show, you can't even hate Gideon as much as well. You know how he is, you know? But now you're happy to see him because you'll be like, what mischief you gonna get into now, boy? Seriously, especially by the end. When he's with Julie and everything like that, like in the beginning of the show, I'm all like, he's ending up with Julie. Me and my friend are looking at each other like, what's happening here? And I'm like, yo, for real? What is happening here? This shit's fucking crazy. And it still has the whole humor of every time they curse, they like bleep it and shit like that. I like it. I'm still glad they kept that shit. And the whole fight scenes too, where Ramona is fighting Roxy and shit like that, that shit's great. They're going through movies and everything like that. I'm like, oh my God, they're literally breaking the fourth wall here. They literally being like Looney Tunes right here. How is this fucking possible? They're literally being like Toon Force right now. They literally are, the way they're doing that shit. I'm just like, that's Toon Force. I'm sorry. That literally is. How can you jump to a different viewpoint of reality if you don't have that type of ability, you know? Maybe it's just because Ramona was fighting Roxanne, or maybe it's just a subspace highway type of thing. That's what I like to think of. Maybe it's a subspace highway type of thing, which I don't mind. The subspace highway type of shit, gold. I've always fell in love with it in the book and the movie. Still love it here to this day, and they use it to great advantage. They really did. They used it to great advantage. In the fight scene at the end with Scott, the Ward versus Scott Pilgrim, is just so good. It's literally an ending fight scene, an ending anime fight scene that you literally see in epic anime, you know? And if you want to take the show, like, seriously, this is not what the show is. Scott Pilgrim has never been that type of show to take itself that seriously. It's a guy that falls in love with a girl to fight her evil exes. It's a video game story, guys. What do you want? It's a video game type of story. It's like you going after the dragon to slay it and save the princess. Or just slay the dragon to save the world. Oh, I don't know. What's that game called? I know we had a video game of that. It's called Dragon Quest. You know? Sure. If we had a Dragon Quest movie and it was like that, people would just say, "Oh, it's fucked up." Oh, he didn't save the girl in the dungeon. It's woke. Oh, he did save the girl in the dungeon. It's woke. I'm like, so then don't play the game then. No. There's a thought. Have you thought of that? Oh man. And the whole point, I love the fight scene between Matthew Patel and Gideon. I'm just like, yo, that whole fight scene is all great. And then Gideon's just like, you guys betrayed me. You all betrayed me. My friend was just like, he didn't. My friend is literally like, they didn't betray you. You're just an asshole. I'm like, for real. Oh man, it's just really great, man. This stuff is just, I ate this shit up. To be quite honest with you, I enjoyed myself. All right, I did. I enjoyed myself. Was there some flaws, like I pointed out earlier? Yeah, but to me, it wasn't as big as it's not as big as it needs to. It's just a nitpick, to be quite honest with you. It's just stuff that you notice that that could be, you know, you could say that it could be rough around the edges, but not rough enough to be like, oh, the only way you point that out the only way you would notice is someone pointed it out, basically. Because if you're just watching it randomly, no one's not really gonna notice, especially if you're not a movie buff or movie critic buff, basically, or some shit like that. If you don't look at certain videos like documentaries and all that stuff, you're probably not gonna see it. You know, or if you go frame by frame in movies and all that stuff because you love movies and shit like that, and you want to see how it walks and stuff like that. If you don't do that type of stuff, then you probably wouldn't see stuff like that, like those type of mistakes, basically. Some people do because they watch movies a lot of times and they'll be like, "Oh, I noticed that shit." It happens. Sometimes when you just watch movies for a long, long time, you start noticing some cracks. So that's what happens, man. That does. That's what happens, and that's just the way it is. So, what do you guys think about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off? Again, I thought it was fun. I did felt like them doing the whole parody of the movie, basically making fun of it. It was fun, but I felt like they lasted a little too long there. Just saying. But overall, I can see why they did it. It is cool that they did that, to be quite honest with you. And that's why I was kind of worried of like, is this going to be the whole series? I mean, this whole show, basically. And that's probably one of the biggest flaws for some people of this show, saying that, hey man, you're doing this and I get it, it's great, but this show is almost done. Like the series is almost done. And you literally are still at this right here. What the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. Even though the whole set things that you saw them making the Scott Pilgrim movie, basically, I was just like, that's cool. That's a nice references that you guys did. There's E.T. reference. There's a Jurassic Park reference. There's a feed me more. Literally, there's a Little Shop of Horror reference in that movie. I mean, in the show. So there's a lot of movie references there. Literally, I was literally when they were in the set of the studios and stuff like that. I'm literally like, this is a Warner Brothers set. I'm waiting for Looney Tunes to pop out. I'm waiting for the Animaniacs to pop out. Where's the Warner Brothers water tower? It has to be around here somewhere. So I was just having fun with it, having a ball with it. But it did, in my opinion, it lasted a little too long that it didn't need to. But for the sake of the story, it had to do what it had to do anyways. So the best part is that by the end, Gideon still has plans to take revenge, and we don't know what those type of revenge are. Or I'm sorry, not Gideon, Goose. His last name is Goose. Goose. His name is not even Gideon. He's Goose. He was a nerdy kid that looked at a book or made a book from top to down, thinking that he would not get rejected. A woman reads it and throws it down, thinking that there's no way he could be rejected. And he's like, no! Everyone makes fun of him, and Julie saw him there as a kid. And then years later, they end up together. When she was just like, holy shit, Julie and Gideon ending up together. Mainly because, look, Julie, she does not like Scott Pilgrim. She hates Scott, So that's why when I see Gideon with her, I'm all like, you do realize, at least in the movie, well, in the comic book too, Gideon was obsessed with Ramona, man. But in the movie, she's obsessed with him mainly because she's brainwashed. She has like the chip neck basically. But he's doing that because he's obsessed with her. Gideon is he's like that. So with this version of Gideon, his motivations could be so different now. So many things have happened already. I remember watching this show and what the things that were happening to Gideon in the show. I was just like, the Gideon from the movie and the comic book would look at this Gideon and literally say, "Fuck you," and literally probably kill him. Especially the Gideon from the comic book. Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you kidding me? He wouldn't think twice to literally slice your chest open. And there's blood in this show. Not a lot. Not a lot. But when they show blood, you'd be like, oh shit, blood. Huh. You got that from the comic books. The movie didn't do blood at all. To be quite honest with you. It would have got a hard R, apparently. You can make it black and white, They did that in Kill Bill, so. So, what else I could talk about with this show, man? The show is just so fun. And it does new things that I can't wait for them to expand more on it. And I think Knives is so, like, I've always thought Knives is so adorable. Literally, I always thought she was adorable from the comic book and then movie and she's just great, and she's a fun character to play as in the video game. Really badass. Another good character to play as in the video game is Kim Pine. Oh god, she has some good ass abilities in that game, man. She has really good ass abilities. Seriously. What's another thing? There's a okay, in the beginning of the show, you have a point. Okay, it's Scott's funeral, right? And who comes in? Who comes in to rain on Scott's funeral's parade? Who does it? The one person that envies him the most. I kind of spoiled it. fucking Brie Larson envy herself. Literally just walks in there and then starts like, yeah, and then starts singing. And I'm over here like, this bitch is an ass, And then literally, when she leaves, everyone else leaves. I'm like, you guys are all awful. Oh man, it's so funny, man. It's so funny, in my opinion. I thought it was fucking hilarious, man. I really thought. I thought it was really, really funny. That's just me, man. I just love dark humor like that sometimes, or just fucked up humor that you'll be like, you're fucked up. So it's not one of those scenes that you'd be like, okay, guys, I get it. You're trying to establish this and that. It's those scenes when they do it too much, and you're like, okay, I get it. Calm down. They don't do that stuff here. So that's good. So I don't think this franchise has never done that, in my opinion. So that's just me. So if there's anything else I could talk about, like what's my theory or my speculation of what could happen in the next season if they do make another season? Well, in my opinion, if they do make another season, they should really expand of, well, I wonder if they're going to talk more about future Scott, but the whole kissing thing, because Scott and Ramona couldn't kiss because of future Scott Pilgrim. So, but that broke because Ramona and her future self became one. Literally, it became one. That was cool. In a spiritual enlightenment way, this shit was awesome. In a spiritual enlightenment way, you gotta pay attention to that shit because I'm not spoiling it for that. To be quite honest with you, because that shit was intelligent and smart as fuck. They know what they were doing when they did that. All right, seriously. Seriously, it's fucking great. She literally became her higher self, Ramona. Ramona became her higher self, baby. Hell yeah, she looked great. Super Ramona. That was great. The show called her Super Ramona, but I literally was just like, oh my god, Ultra Ramona. I just called her that. I'm like, it's Ultra Ramona Flowers. I'm like, holy shit, she's so beautiful and bright. Let me get glasses. Sunglasses and shit. But so. The whole fight scenes and the whole fight scenes with the show was really fun, and eventually, like I said before, the actors really come on their own when the episodes progress and stuff like that. So again, there are some flaws with the show, but overall, it's not the biggest flaws. It's not gonna ruin the show for you. At least it didn't ruin it for me. I don't know about you. All right, seriously. God forbid, oh, we have a movie that we have a boy saving. I mean, we have a boy defeating the girl that he wants to be with, the exes, and end up with her. But then here's a show that a woman wants to save a boy because she actually likes him and he likes her, and she doesn't want to go back with her boyfriends or anything like that because obviously that's a step back. You want to go forward, not back, you know. And she's literally wants to find him. She's going on an adventure to find um the person that made her spark, basically. You know? When you find somebody that sparks like that with you, won't you want to find them and be with them and everything like that? Even if it's just like one thing, like, you know? It's funny. Some of these people that argue with how Scott and Ramona do things at the beginning of the movie or show or comic book, I'm just like, are you guys adults? Are you guys an adult? God, some of these people never got laid. Then you have no idea how adulthood works. Then, dude. Sometimes, man, when a man and a woman have the chemistry and everything like that, and they might go a little bit more quickly and forward, it's not like they're gonna have a fucking pregnant or some shit like that, have a baby. You know? People have needs and they wanna do shit. And then you have fucking stupid YouTubers out here saying that that's wrong. And I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You're a person, you have feelings, you have needs. What the hell's wrong with you? Just like any other person. And any, sisters out here that feel bad, that people point that you feel bad for yourself sometimes that way, you shouldn't. You should feel like you should be loved and sexy and hold on and carry and kissed and loved, basically. Alright? Seriously, man. Like, there's a lot of male YouTubers out here that don't know how to be fucking males. I'll say that right now, man. Seriously. You guys acting like for crying out loud, man. If you met a woman like Ramona Flowers, you would not even kiss her at all. You wouldn't even reach that base. Why? Because you'd be so hurtful just by the way she looks that you won't even try to talk to her. Well, a person like me would see her in real life and be like, I want to talk to her. But you would be like, no. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You know? But that's a sidetrack there. Because you know how some people are on YouTube and it's like, oh, we can't feel these type of feelings. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? What the hell's wrong with you? Like, calm down. Calm down, boo-boo. Calm the fuck down. Seriously. The whole part, too, when the third evil X, again, going back, Wallace, he kisses freaking the third evil X. And I'm over here like, Wallace, man, this is what I'm saying. Wallace, he's the highlight of this fucking show. He was taking highlights up the ass. Literally. Even my friend was like, he is taking the meat. Because he's vegan. Not anymore. Oh my god, that shit was great. That shit was great as hell. It was. That shit was great. That shit was hilarious. And then there was also a part where you thought Scott and Wallace got together, and I'm like, show, what are you implying? But they but they made a joke out of it, and it's like, oh, okay, it's not that. Even regular Scott was just like to Wallace, congratulations. I'm just like, because when Scott was trying to question, what do you mean you have something to tell me? Scott, like regular Scott's eyes became like huge and big and started getting red. Like, what are you trying to tell me? I'm telling you, man, this shit. When the actors get comfortable of what they're doing, this show is phenomenal. You just need to fucking wait 1 or 2 episodes of it, because the rest of the whole series is really good in my opinion. It really is. And even I'm not saying the episodes 1 and 2 are bad. I'm just saying that the I'm just saying right there in the I'm not saying episode 1 and 2 is bad. I'm just saying that the actors had to practice before they had to, I don't know, start filming. I don't know. Sometimes in the beginning of the show, you felt like these actors couldn't um remember what character they played. So it's like, are you guys gay? Are you guys gay? It reminds me of that one movie. It's like, are you having a boy or an abortion? And it's like, if you know that quote from that movie, you deserve a cookie. We could be friends. I remember hearing that line in that movie. I'm like, good God, that shit's hilarious. Oh man. So, anyways, guys, I'll see you guys later. What did you guys think about this show? As you guys can tell, I had a blast. I did. The more I think about this show, the more I'm like, give me a season 2. You should have dropped 3 seasons. I don't give a fuck. Scott Pilgrim has been dormant for how many years? You mean tell me you couldn't put out 3 seasons, you motherfucker? You mean tell me you couldn't start making this animated series when you dropped the video game? Back? Bull! 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 I'm just kidding, but that's how much I enjoy the show, man. I want more. Seriously, I want more. So I'll see you guys later. Tell me what you guys think about Scott Pilgrim. Um, I'm saying take over. I don't want to say that. What is it? The new Scott Pilgrim show. Well, the Scott Pilgrim show. So tell me what you guys think about that. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah. Sorry. So Scott Pilgrim takes off. Tell me what you guys think about it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What? Would you? Oh, if you do hate it, tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why that you felt like you didn't like it or something like that. Tell me why also that. What did you want it? What did you want it? Me, I just wanted something new, And if they were gonna give me the same thing as the movie or the comic books, I would have hoped that they would have changed a couple of things. You know, it could have been like, hey, Scott and for example, it could be like Scott and Matthew Patel fight, and then all of a sudden Ramona joins in or some shit like that. For example, you know, that's just an example. Like she doesn't have to, but she could have. She could have, you know. So there's just a lot of things you could have done, and that's another dimension universe right there that we later mentioned stuff like that in this video. So that's really it, guys. That's why I can't bring myself to hate this show, man. I really can't. That's why if any people on YouTube are talking shit about it, which to be quite honest, I was looking some videos about it, and some people there's questionable people, yo. Either you're trying to shit on the show and trying to ruin it, or you just don't get Scott Pilgrim at all, and you're a fake fan. I don't know. Am I wrong? Or like, if you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, you will love this show. You know? If you know the video game, if you know the comic book, if you know the movie, you will enjoy the shit out of the show. So, if people, like, If it's not for you, then it's not for you. That's fine. But if you over exaggerate to the point that you want it to be canceled or you just call it woke, then I'm going to look at you as like an idiot. I am. I'm going to look at you as an idiot. I am. I'm literally going to look at you as an idiot. I know some idiot is going to be like, the title show was called Scott Pilgrim, and the whole fucking series, Ramona is the main character, and I'm over here and like, I don't want to hear that shit from any of y'all motherfuckers. All right, I don't want to hear any of that shit. You know why? Because that is stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. That's like literally that's like almost reading Romeo and Juliet and be like, why is Juliet the main character and not Romeo? I'm like, they're both the main characters, guys. And it's like, well, only he should be the main character. And it's like, so that's it. That's it, guys. I'll see you. Be safe. And Scott Pilgrim will take off because it has, and this show is pretty freaking great.